Let's open the book on this. Today in Portland, Oregon, a potentially first-of-its-kind wealth tax could shift the economic landscape. We're talking billions on the table if it moves forward.
All right, let's set the stage for this one.
I'm Leah.
And I'm Garrett. Welcome to Laid Back Local, the news of the day, with Leah and Garrett, here in Portland, Oregon.
First up, Oregon is considering a wealth tax targeting individuals with over $30 million in assets, potentially generating about $2.7 billion annually. The push is organized by Jonathan Tassini, a longtime labor advocate and campaign organizer. The petition is labeled IP70, the Very Rich Pay Their Fair Share Act. To land on the November 2026 ballot, it needs about 117,000 valid signatures. The idea is to address state budget shortfalls by shifting some of the tax responsibility from working-class Oregonians to those with extreme wealth. Quick definition here. A wealth tax is a tax on net worth, meaning total assets minus debts. This is part of a broader national movement. Similar initiatives are surfacing in California and Washington, but there are challenges, including potential tax evasion, illegal non-payment, and broader administrative complexity. The state would need robust systems like asset tracking and audits to fairly measure and collect the tax. Also important context, Oregon doesn't have a sales tax and relies heavily on income taxes, so raising stable revenue has always been a balancing act.
Yeah, that checks out. I'm curious, though, how do they keep people from, just moving or shifting assets around? There's a real concern about a wealth exodus, people relocating or moving money to avoid a tax. And this would be unique on the national stage. A wealth tax like this has never actually been implemented in the U.S. before, so the logistics matter a lot, like how you verify asset values each year without getting bogged down in paperwork. Speaking of funding, next up, Portland arts organizations are struggling as NEA support dries up. The NEA is the National Endowment for the Arts, a federal agency that gives grants to support arts projects. Those grants were canceled after Trump returned to the presidency in early 2025, and it hit groups like Portland Playhouse and Portland Center Stage pretty hard. Portland Playhouse, a local theater company in Northeast Portland, had received NEA support for 10 straight years before the cuts. Now, many organizations are leaning on individual donors and emergency fundraising to keep shows on their feet. The takeaway is the city needs better local arts funding because the federal tap just isn't flowing like it used to.
That's so wild. Portland Playhouse found out about their grant cancellation on opening night of a show. Talk about a gut punch when you're trying to focus on curtains up. And here's a twist. Portland Center Stage actually had NEA approval for a grant focused on LGBTQ+ playwrights, which is all about developing new voices. Even so, with broader cancellations, the message to local groups is clear. Resilience is key, and planning for unstable federal support has become part of the job description. Next up, Portland's Hygiene for All is struggling to recover after a series of fires amid budget cuts. Hygiene for All is a nonprofit under the Morrison Bridge in Southeast Portland that provides showers, survival supplies, and community care for people living outside. Since November 2025, they've had 4 fires. The first damaged their office pod, then in early February, a more than 2,500-pound, 275-gallon water tank was destroyed. Later in February, another fire burned 2 portable toilets and another tank, and in March, a dumpster fire damaged storage pods with tools, clothing, bedding, and cleaning supplies. Public funding for the group disappeared in June 2025, so they're piecing things together with community help and creative fundraising. One bright spot, Burgerville, the local burger chain with Oregon roots, is donating 20% of proceeds from 6 locations to help them regain stability. Meanwhile, the city and county are dealing with budget shortfalls that affect homelessness services across the board, and leaders are bracing for a federal funding cliff expected in 2028. Quick explainer. A fiscal cliff means a steep drop-off in funding that forces sudden cuts. All of this is happening as encampment removals increase, disrupting fragile stability for folks on the street.
Not gonna lie, I was shocked to hear their insurance doesn't cover temporary structures like showers and storage units. That's a tough gap. And the city is clearing an average of 20 homeless encampments a day. A sweep is when the city clears a campsite and disposes of items, which can reset people's progress and make community safety work harder. It's a lot of churn for staff, volunteers, and the folks trying to access basic hygiene. Why is that coverage hole even a thing? Is it just how policies are written for temporary setups?
Real talk, it usually comes down to risk categories. Temporary structures are often excluded or require add-on riders, which are extra policy pieces that cost more. For a small nonprofit already stretched thin, that's a big ask, so they're relying on neighbors and partners to bridge the gap right now.
Circling back to the wealth tax angle, Portland's initiative could bring in billions as a new approach to economic inequality. The proposal would target fewer than 0.2% of Oregon taxpayers. For context, state data from 2022 shows about 4,600 Oregonians have assets above $30 million. If the measure passes, the money would flow into the Oregon General Fund, the big bucket that pays for core services like schools, public safety, and health programs, and it sits within that broader national conversation about wealth inequality. Basically, the gap between the very top and everyone else.
$2.7 billion a year still kind of blows my mind. If it clears the signature hurdle and then the vote, that could be a sizable cushion against budget shortfalls while also aiming at the inequality question. The challenge, like we said, is executing it clearly and fairly so it does what it says on the tin, raise revenue without creating chaos. Last up, Portland arts organizations are adapting as NEA funding cuts reshape the landscape. Artists Repertory Theater, known locally as Artists Rep, had long been a steady NEA grantee. But with federal arts support in decline, many groups are rethinking budgets, scaling productions to fit smaller funding footprints, and looking to local donors, foundations, and business partners to keep their missions intact. In plain terms, mission fulfillment means staying true to what they do best, telling stories, employing local artists, and keeping stages open to the community.
I've got a lot of admiration for the resilience here. It takes creativity to find new backers and still deliver quality work. I'm down for that. Innovative solutions like pooled fundraising or partnerships with local venues and schools could keep the lights on and the seats filled. That's something to chew on, huh?
All right, on to the close.
Thanks for tuning in to Laid Back Local, the news of the day with Leah and Garrett here in Portland, Oregon. Have a great day, and we'll catch you tomorrow.